まさかそんなことをやめろそんな悲しいことはやめるんだ
Guys, from my previous videos, you may have had the impression that I am pretty based. In the past, we have discussed vampire doctors, retired yakuza, and 30-year-old men cosplaying 16-year-old pirates. But the horrible truth that I had hoped you would never find out is that I am cringe. But now I must embrace my true self. Forgive me, masters, but I have to cringe out just this once. I am in love with YANAMI, among other losing heroines. Too Many Losing Heroines debuted on July 14th, 2024, dropping alongside many other promising anime like Wistoria, VTuber Legend, and My Dear Friend Nokotan. And even from the first clip I saw, I knew I would be obsessed with it. The colors, the animation, the music, the writing, everything about it screamed, watch me. But I put it off because I like binging shows that have a bunch of episodes out already. I tried catching up with the manga, but it isn't that far ahead of the anime, and I'm not going to read the light novel because I can't read. So indulge me as I gush about why this show is so good and count the seconds until I could see her again. The script literally says, do something to make it less cringe, but I don't know what to do about that. Too Many Losing Heroines centers around Kazuhiko Nukumizu, a friendless loser who is obsessed with romantic comedies. The pilot episode shows Nukumizu in an otherwise normal day, except this day, he witnesses a scene straight out of one of his rom-coms. The childhood friend urging the main character to go after the girl he loves, despite the fact that she's in love with him too. She gives him the keys to presumably a bike or something, and he runs off to be with the love of his life, a girl he met 2 months ago. Any other story would follow him on his journey to confess to this girl he barely knows. But we're not following him, we're following him, as he witnesses something that the cameras normally wouldn't pick up, because it's just so incredibly pathetic. And that was the day he met Yanami Anna, or as he puts it, which he refuses to let them live down. Nukumizu is way too comfortable calling these fragile, vulnerable girls losers in his head, bro. Leave them alone! And can I just say how insane it is to lock eyes with someone across the room witnessing you at your literal rock bottom and just grabbing a seat in front of them like that didn't just happen. She has nerves of steel, bro. Yanami is an amazing character because everything you need to know about her is given to you in her introduction. First off, she is emotionally intelligent. She deduced that both of her friends were in love with each other despite them not communicating that to her. 2, she's willing to step aside if it means that they can both be happy. 3, she's extremely chatty. She's more than willing to talk about her feelings with anyone available, but doesn't reveal her true feelings with the main characters until it is plot relevant. 4, she loves eating. In fact, there's a Yanami chart on Twitter I found that shows every food she's eaten and how many calories she's consumed, and all I can say about that is, keep it up. And 5, she's a bit of an airhead. She orders food on other people's tabs and then forgets that she has no money. If that happened in real life, I'd have to end her whole career. But I love her, so it's okay. Anybody who is familiar with anime rom-coms, or just rom-coms in general, know that there is a name for girls like Yanami, and no, it's not lose your heroine.
You pretentious douchebag!
It's the best friend. Takebi Amamori, the author of Losing Heroines, was very deliberate with the characterization of Yanami and the other heroines in the story. They are all sharper, more personal versions of archetypes that exist in rom-coms. More specifically, the archetypes of girls who don't find love at the end of their stories. Hence the name Losing Heroines. Yanami is the best friend who steps aside so the man she loves and her best friend in the world can find happiness, even if it kills her to do it. Yakishio is the upbeat athlete who wants to pretend that nothing is wrong. She holds her feelings inside until they come out in the most unexpected ways. Komari is the gloomy, socially inept freshman that is in love with a man she knows she'll never be with. All these archetypes are very intentional because at its core, this isn't a story about love. It's a story about rejection. A story about when you give it your all and it's still not enough. Or even worse, when you don't try at all and the person you want moves on without you. Yanami starts off the story being rejected. She waits until the last possible moment to say how she feels, but it's too late because he's already in love with someone else. Yakishio spent so much time trying to pretend that everything is normal that she lost her chance to even fight for a relationship. Her first reaction is to play it cool, but clearly she's upset. Even later on in episode 6, she's straining herself to keep a straight face when he is begging her to hang out with him and his girlfriend. You can hear in her voice that she is struggling more and more until she blurts out something she can't take back. Komari actually had the chance to fight for what she wanted. She confessed to the guy she liked, knowing full well that the girl he liked was right next to him, and then had the balls to say that for a second she was fighting fair and square with her rival. That's metal as hell. And then to be like, hey, I'm gonna cry now, could you leave for a bit? I'm sorry, Komari, I wasn't familiar with your game. Also, the guys they are in love with are all really nice. There are no dickheads in the story so far, so it makes it so much sadder that these girls lost their chance. Maybe they could have been really happy with those guys, but now we'll never know. Getting back on topic, the reason why I love YANAMI so much is because she is the best person to follow this perspective with. Being the best friend, she is the most altruistic person here. Without her, there wouldn't even be a love story to begin with. She digs her own grave by sending Sosuke after Karen in the first episode, and in dealing with the consequences of her own actions, we see how much pain that initial choice puts her through. She spends every moment with them as they flaunt their newfound love in her face. Her family, who are very close with Sosuke, are so invested in their relationship that they bring him up every chance they get, without knowing how much that hurts her. Her friends at school all treat her like she came in second place, which she did, but you don't need to say it all the time. Her whole life revolves around this guy, and she finds herself drowning in a vacuum that she caused. And all of that still continues long after she comes to terms with finally being rejected. All of this happened because she wanted to be a good friend, not knowing what kind of nuclear fallout would come out of it, which is the untold story of the best friend archetype. Her friends and family are all painful reminders that she wasn't enough for the guy she liked, even if they don't mean to be. But, like I said, this isn't a love story, it's a story about life after being rejected. The same day she gets rejected is the same day she meets Nukumizu, despite being in the same class. In the cruel twisting of the knife that she remarks on later, for her, this was the worst day of her life, but for him, this was Tuesday. In fact, the most special thing that happened that day was some dumb bitch made him pay 4,000 yen for a meal he didn't even eat.
もう一度聞くけど、このポテトってヤナミさんが頼んだの？
Welcome to adulthood, my man. Nukumizu is also a very good character, albeit not a very unique one. I'm sure we've all seen the main character that engages with the world through their preferred medium. But what makes Nukumizu a good fit for this specific cast is his immediate naivety. He does not engage with these girls as if they are conquest targets. In his head, he has no chance with any of them, so he doesn't try to put on airs around them. Everything he says, he means, and everything he does without thinking, which is what endears him to them. That quality of his is also what separates him from other quote-unquote protagonists. Other main characters always know what to say or have some special quality that makes people feel like everything is going to be okay. Or worse, they actively take advantage of the heroine's trauma in order to manipulate them into having feelings for him. I'm looking at you, the world God only knows. However, Nukumizu is, by his own words, not a main character. He doesn't always have the words to make everything better. Which is normal. He's not a poet laureate, he is just a guy who likes reading books. But what he lacks in charisma, he more than makes up for in empathy. He may not be able to save the day by saying some throwaway line about never giving up or whatever, but he can stay by their side while they're going through something truly awful, which is far more valuable. Nukumizu and YANAMI are a perfect match because they are incredibly honest with each other. Not to play therapist or whatever, although it might be a little late for that. YANAMI spent most of her childhood hiding her feelings from the one person she needed to share them with the most. She vented to Nukumizu initially because he was just far enough outside of the orbit of her friends that she thought it wouldn't count. But then she realized how freeing it was to honestly speak your mind to someone with no filters. Nukumizu didn't need to stay with her while she vented, much less pay for her food or help her avoid her rival. But he did those things because he is empathetic to a fault. Even if he doesn't know how he can help, he will always be by her side, even if only to remind her that she is not alone. Nukumizu becomes YANAMI's comfort zone while she pushes him out of his. Nukumizu's air quote proposal is easily one of my favorite scenes of the year because of this. He creates such a needlessly tense atmosphere because he has no idea how people become friends, and she goes along with it because she thinks she knows where he's going with all this and wants to let him down easy. She wants to be his friend, so she treats his feelings with the respect they deserve, which is way more than what she got. All she got was a guy taking her bike to propose to a girl he just met. Both of them know exactly where they stand with each other, which ironically makes this the most intimate relationship either of them have ever had, including any and all childhood friends. YANAMI was putting on airs around Sosuke while she doesn't have to with Nukumizu. Take this scene where they are discussing Yakishio in episode 7. The look in her eyes says that he is the only person in the world that she would want to talk to about this. It is also a testament to their comfortability with each other that every other episode has them refusing to play into common tropes that appear in other rom-coms, like the confession on the rooftop trope at the end of episode 5, or the fake boyfriend trope at the end of episode 7. Those tropes are usually plot devices used exclusively to get the characters to interact with each other, but in Losing Heroines, they are used as jokes to highlight how close these characters are growing. They don't need excuses to talk to each other. Much like in the real world, if YANAMI wants to talk to Nukumizu, she'll just do it. And although she doesn't want to admit it, this newfound relationship they've developed never would have happened if she wasn't rejected in the first place. Despite most love stories having more optimistic messages like just go for it, the harsh truth is that not everybody gets what they want. Even in most of those stories, a lot of people walk away unsatisfied. Too Many Losing Heroines tells a much more relatable story about losing out on something precious, about mourning the loss of a future you could have had with someone special if only you were brave enough to talk to them. Rejection is a normal part of life, and no matter how hard it might seem in the moment, that pain, like all things, is temporary. YANAMI says that it feels like the whole world is moving on without knowing how she feels, but that's not true. Yakishio, Komari, Tsukinoki, and Tamaki all had to deal with rejections no matter how small. Even Sosuke was only in that cafe in the first place because he was rejected by Karen the first time. But no matter how small the rejection was, none of them had to deal with it on their own. Rejection is hard, but if you open up your heart to the people around you, you'll find that you might not be as alone as you think. And who knows, maybe you'll find someone you didn't expect, helping you pick up the pieces. With all that out of the way, I think I finally have the courage to confess my own feelings. Yanami Anna, I am... Wait, she's not real, she's not real! Oh!